8. If history were a conflagration.
First off, welcome back, Becky.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
friend.
I know when we talked last time you were on, you were excited at the possibility of coming back, and we threw out the idea of like, well, we don't have anybody for the finale, so do you want to do it? And you were completely gung-ho to do it.
Oh, yeah. I love watching TV and talking about it. So anyone that'll give me a platform to do so, I'm all about it.
Well, and that's great because honestly, Becky, after 9 episodes of this or whatever we're at, I was ready to phone it in hardcore. So having you in here is really going to help me be able to accomplish that. So thank you for doing the heavy lifting this week because I'm just not going to do it.
It's my pleasure. I don't know if anybody's going to like what I have to say, but it is my pleasure to carry you.
That's interesting. I will be completely honest with you. Like, not particularly not with this podcast, but any podcast I ever do. The more people I have on, the less notes I gather, because I know, not because I'm being lazy about it, but because it's an additional person that I can kind of feed off of with the conversation. So I don't concentrate as much on the notes that I'm taking when I have multiple people on, because I know they're going to bring up a point that I didn't have in my notes and I can feed off of that. And, but if all 3 of us do that, then this is going to be a really shitty conversation.
And to that point, I feel like when I take too many notes, I get too stuck trying to make the point, trying to be witty, trying to get that thing in. But when I just watch the episode a couple of times and have a general idea of the structure of it, and then you and I have a conversation back and forth, it's so much better. And I'm able to recall things and be a part of the conversation as opposed to constantly checking my notes to make sure I'm hitting the right thing. I can just freestyle and we can have that conversation about motivations and reasonings and thought choices of the characters. And I love that. And Becky, that's why I'm really happy to have you on for this episode because I think with a lot of how everything got set up for what comes next, it's going to help having a third set of eyes and a third opinion on what's going on and what's about to happen. So that I'm super excited, but we still have last week to talk about.
We do. Real quick, though, before we get into that, Becky, I want to thank you for coming on twice this season. And this is not a criticism of anybody else. Jason sent me a whole list of people who wanted to come on this season to talk about Dead City. And you were the only one we were actually able to get scheduled to come on, not once, but twice.
Yes.
Because some people never responded to the message that I sent out, asking, hey, you want to be on it? Some people, we had one person lined up and they had some kind of family emergency and was unable to do it. And then everybody else were like, oh, I'll do this and I'll do this. And then just never did it. And again, look, it's not a criticism. I know things happen and scheduling, can be tough. We're recording this at 9:30 at night. So I get how that can be difficult.
Every time a little bit when we get done at this thing at midnight and I realize I have to put my alarm clock on for 5:30 so that I can get up in time for work the next day. But I do it because I love you, podcasting friends. And thank you so much to build upon what Ben was saying. Becky, thank you. Like it is not easy to cram in an episode and to take notes and to make thoughts in less than, let's talk it out. The episode dropped 24 hours ago and here we are, ready to have an hour plus conversation about it. So thank you for being game and being ready and just being up to the task. Way to be.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for having me. I was telling Mandy, who I podcast with, about you two, and I said they're like the male versions of us. The way you two banter and your jokes and the wit. I when I started listening to y'all, I was like, I want to podcast with them. So thank you for having me because it's been a lot of fun.
Of course. And we'll talk about this a little bit later when we get into the episode. I'm more than confident we're going to get a 3rd season of the show. Which means the door is open for you to come back next season, whenever it's going to happen. And same thing, anybody who attempted to be on this season, the door is open for next season. Hopefully, I'm not going to mention their name because I don't want to point them out or anything, but there was one person who was really gung-ho to be on, but wasn't crazy about the direction of the show. So they decided they didn't want to do it only because they felt it would just be hate watching at that point. if their opinion has changed by next season, please reach out and we'll bring you back on. And at this point, Alex is saying in his head, please God, can we get on with this podcast?
Actually,
Because
no,
I have to wake up at 5:30 in the
Almost.
morning.
I mean,
That's
there's
exactly
that,
what time my alarm goes off to.
so you get it, Becky. Almost.
Yeah.
But two things I want to say on top of that. Number one, Colin Stillwell, I am challenging you. Be on next season. I need to break down an entire episode with you. So whatever has held you back from joining into the episodes, I want you to break that barrier and let's have you on. Becky, you said one of the kindest things in the entire universe I've ever heard, and that is listening to us banter and us talk made you want to podcast with us. And for my normal show, my baseball podcast, I've always viewed it as this is me and Danny at the bar talking baseball with our friends, and this is the type of conversation that you just want to be a part of and you want to hear. And you know it's gonna start with baseball and go to The Simpsons making fun of Rocky VII, Adrian's Revenge, and then come back to the designated hitter rule. And like you don't know where it's gonna go, but that's a conversation you want to be a part of. So you saying that, ultimate compliment. That's exactly why I got into the game. So super cool. Thank you.
And Alex, isn't that kind of how you got started too? And like, this is not in no way like a humble brag about myself. It kind of is, but you said similarly, like you got into podcasting because you were listening to Kristen and I on Revisited, and it made you want to do it.
Yep. I had so many things I wanted to say that was outside of just leaving comments. And I was like, all right, man, like he said, if you ever want to be on an episode, go ahead and reach out. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And Ben, it was the easiest process in the entire universe. I was so scared, but my first time, you really took care of me. And you really made me feel appreciated.
I was gentle. I was very gentle.
Forget that. I'll never forget how gentle you were. Thank you.
This has gone so creepy at this point.
I love it though. This is why we listen to the two of you.
I don't, nothing against anybody else, but anybody else on Podcastica, but I don't know of any other podcast pairings on the cast of us get this weird.
Darn tootin'.
And I'm okay with it.
I wear that with a badge of honor, sir.
Heck
100%
yeah.
badge of honor.
Look, we're covering a very polarizing show. We have to bring the listeners in somehow.
If we
I don't know that this show's doing
it. Just so they have a reason to listen, then my work here is done. It's like that character in PCU, like a bridge too far. This is my thesis, man.
Don't be that guy, Gunner. Don't be that guy.
Gutters.
All right,
let's do it.
At this point, the listeners are saying, "Please move on and get on."
They have
with
to
it.
get up at 5:30.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we get into breaking down the season finale of the episode, let's knock out some of our episode 7 feedback. And Alex, you're going to kick things off this week.
Let's do it. First up from Megan Dively Lehman. Since I'm so hopelessly behind and haven't even started this season yet, I'm going to leave my feedback to say you guys are doing a great job, so I can tear it at whatever time in the future I end up watching the show and listening to the podcast, because I have confidence you are doing a great job, even though I'm not listening. Seriously, though, this is just the one that fell to the wayside during the spring glut of amazing returning shows. Oops, we are also only one episode into Andor. Megan, do not feel bad. There are at least 7 different shows on my Apple Notes right now that I keep telling myself I have to watch. Stick on Apple Plus, the rest of The Studio on Apple Plus.
The Studio is so good.
Andor, I haven't even started Andor because I know I need to do it properly, and I was doing this instead. So don't feel bad with what you have and haven't watched. The fact that you're still leaving us feedback so that you can listen to yourself in the future. And if you're wondering, Megan, it's probably still hot when you listen to this eventually in 3 weeks. But I'm glad that you're chiming in. And are you listening to us while not watching? Because if so, I have questions about how you feel about spoilers.
Yeah. But thank you for that, Megan. I don't know if she... I want to say she does still listen to podcasts, even though she doesn't watch shows.
That's amazing.
I don't know.
That's ballsy.
I don't know.
I don't think I could do that. I think that would ruin it for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's got the next bit of feedback?
I don't know, Becky. Who's got the next piece of feedback?
So from Becky Anderson, I feel like there's no way the Dama survived. We saw her body. Is Herschel imagining her, parentheses, Norman Bates style? Just me? Yes, Becky Anderson, just you. Dang it.
For so long, I have wanted to do a show where a guest came on and read their own feedback. And it finally happened. It took 2 seasons of Dead City, but it finally happened.
I'm so happy that this moment happened for you, Ben. And Becky, what a great piece of feedback of your own to read. So how do you feel about what past Becky has to say? Does current Becky think that she has a point, or is current Becky a little disappointed in past Becky's performance there?
Current Becky is a little disappointed in past Becky's performance because past Becky had a lot more to say, but I couldn't get past this particular thing. I was like, I just don't think she's real. I think this is all in Herschel's head. And then, bam, there she was.
And then, bam, there she was.
And not only that, but Herschel wasn't the only one that saw her. Maggie saw her at the...
Well, you can't read my shirt, but it says my anxiety has anxiety, and you are not helping, Ben.
Sorry. Shut up.
Amazing.
All right. Moving on. Our next piece of feedback comes from Dre Manoni. After listening to your coverage of the prior Maggie versus the Bear episode, I felt like I was regretting my harsh feedback on the episode. Maybe I should rewatch it in a better mood, as it seems like others liked it a lot more than I did. I will say that I liked this week's episode more because it made me jump a bit and there were lots of tense moments. The only thing I rolled my eyes at immediately was when Maggie held the crow out at the window. Yeah, I did too. Yeah. So fake. I couldn't get past that. And if you are so freaked out by heights, no way you were sitting anywhere close to that open window. I felt a little in disbelief about the Dama being alive. Was the Croat part of that scheme? One more to go. Yeah, we didn't talk about that a lot last week, but that was a little far-fetched.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I agree. Great call. I wish we had brought it up, but that's why we have the best fans in the business, because they brought up the things that we missed. So nicely done.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Dre also for talking about the Dama, being in disbelief that the Dama is still alive. I feel a little more validated. Past Becky,
a little bit more seen.
Yeah,
I love that.
Definitely.
I love that for you. I'm glad someone is there with you.
Yeah, and I definitely have notes on that for this week's episode, but
to get there, we have to get through the feedback, which brings us up next to Deborah Ulmer, fan favorite of the show. Hi, Ben and Alex. Both and Becky. I'm going to assume if she had known that she would have said and Becky in there. Both Maggie and Negan were trippy in this episode. I'm glad that we got to see the Croat again. He's one of my favorite characters to watch in this series, even though he's all defeated now. It was smart to put Maggie and him together to show the parallels of his mommy issues and how the Dama got him to what Maggie is experiencing with Herschel now. Well, it looks like Negan's quest brought his old self back out, and Alex may have predicted right all along. Dang, they got us. I mean, I thought that the Dama might have survived, but then they showed the burnt body. I wonder how they're going to explain that. I'm excited for the finale and all of this coming to a head. Y'all have a good one, and take care. Hey, Deborah. Real quick, you know how they're going to explain it? They're going to do this.
Poorly.
You can't see it. You can't see it on the screen, but I'm waving my hand. They're going to hand wave it all away. But that's okay. That's all right. We don't care about that.
Poorly.
Sorry. Poorly.
I had to clear my throat.
Hand wave it. Yes. That we'll get there, Deborah. Don't you worry.
Jesse Bowen Echtel says, those children in the hospital were creepy as hell. They absolutely were. Was kind of shocked how many kids were still were shown. It felt more sinister than typical Walking Dead. How the hell were the kids' Zeds just rotting there instead of responding much to Negan? I wondered the same thing. When he came back through, they suddenly seemed to care. I don't buy that he was just quiet enough or whatever not to bother them initially. That made me crazy, but it was still creepy enough that it worked enough, I suppose. That little boy in his plaid shirt reminded me of little Carl and broke my heart all over again. They really are trying to make us feel for Negan and give him this huge arc. It's working better than I expected, unfortunately, and I'm liking his storyline far more than Maggie's. I concur. What can I say? JDM is just magnetic. I was so surprised to see the Dama at the end. Me too. What the fuck? Whose body is burnt in that building? The ending in this one really made me eager to watch next week's episode. Bye, y'all, with the gigantic heart emoji.
Gigantic heart. And I'm
That
a big
was
fan of
great
that.
feedback, Josie.
That was really nice. I think you spoke for everyone in the audience for so many pieces of that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Becky, what were your thoughts on our inquiry last week about when Negan's hallucinations started?
I
Did you-
think it started when he hit his head.
Okay.
Okay.
So he
got
was already
upstairs,
he was already
baby Carl,
upstairs.
hit
Yeah.
his head, hallucinated, went back downstairs, found what he needed.
Yes.
So who knows what the hell happened after he hit his head?
Right.
So then
Love it.
that would mean that the Zed kids never happened. That was all hallucination.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Which would
Yeah,
make sense why they didn't
Yeah, that's what I
move.
said.
Because he's got a thing with kids right now anyway, because
He does.
you know,
It's tough.
he sent his kid away. He's dealing with, you know, he dealt with Carl and then Jenny, and he's in his head in a weird way. So it would make sense that was a sensible hallucination.
Okay. I
But
was
if
just
it was
curious.
real, I call BS that they didn't.
I figured we had you, so I might as well ask you
Yeah.
since we talked about it last week. All right. Next one comes from Danielle Dement Juiced. And Danielle says, I just got caught up on this show. The last few episodes have been better than the early ones. I actually enjoyed this episode the most, I think. It was not without its flaws, but it kept me engaged. The parallels between Maggie's exhaustion and Negan's concussion were a little convenient, storytelling-wise, but still interesting. I didn't really enjoy Negan's visions of Lucille, Annie, and Ginny for some reason. They felt forced, but that's okay. I definitely don't understand how Negan's experience led him to the conclusion that he should just kill everybody who stands against him, though. It was a leap I definitely don't understand how... Oh, whoops. Sorry. That was a leap I was not prepared for. I started reading the same line again. I guess it comes down to protecting your own at the detriment of everyone else in order to avoid letting people down. It doesn't completely make sense to me. Herschel has become such a creepy little dude.
Amen.
Yep.
I don't know what hold the Dama could possibly have over him that would be this powerful. If we were supposed to see that Herschel was really that disconnected from Maggie in the beginning, they did not show it very well. What I saw was a son who loved his mother and respected her, but took issue with the way she controlled him and her seeming obsession with Negan. I also never saw any evidence that she was obsessed with Negan, but sure. If Herschel legit becomes a villain, that could be very interesting. I always thought that they should have done that in Fear with Chris, but they just killed him off instead. The trouble with doing it with Herschel is that we knew and loved his father, and it just feels like such a quantum leap from who his father was. But that is one advantage we have. Over Herschel, seeing as he never knew Glenn. Now Maggie can blame Negan for one more thing, because if Glenn was alive, Herschel would probably be a better person, and Maggie would definitely be a better mother. That's not necessarily true either. If there's supposed to be is there supposed to be another season of the show? I really felt like it should end with Negan dead. Maybe Maggie too. Maybe she should die killing him. That seems fitting. That would.
Oh my gosh, she is bringing so much of what I am about to say when we dive into this episode to the forefront.
And talk about anticipating where this episode was going to go before we got to it, because I didn't see it going the way it did, because we'll get to that. But I don't know. I thought some really interesting points and some really good looks. I can't get past the usage of the word quantum leap, but I love Samuel Beckett, so there's that.
I love that show.
I liked the reboot too.
It was
I have
good.
not yet given it the time. I need to. I know.
It ends in a massive cliffhanger and got canceled.
Yeah, don't get too invested.
Oh, just like the
Yeah.
original. Good. Sweet.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times. But no, I thought great points, and I'm very excited to see your feedback for the season finale after all of that.
Me too.
All right, folks. Next up, you know him. You love him. It's an email from Colin Stillwell. Dear God, help me, please. Fudge, already off to a rough start. Preposterously pediatric pandemonium. Negan perplexed as he pessimistically picks through the pickled pandemic of the Bellevue Pavilion, looking for a little puff for poor Ginny's punctured pulmonary. Whew, that one was wildly whimsical. I was consciously conspicuous of the Croats cooing about a candle that just so happens to coincide with the conniving kid's candle in the crest of a crazy lady's carapace. I confused myself with this quandary, but stick with me. The dame isn't dead. Instead, she's diseased in the dome and disguised her deception in the form of dust from a dazzling dupe of dying hope in her doomed lackey's dilated eyes. Hillary Burton Morgan vanquished us with her valiant volition and violet vines in the vestige of a vision. That was cool. On to the finale of Fears, finality of Fester. Final moments of a festive franchise. For now. Feast on the living. Fear the freakish. And fuck up the feral. Let's fucking go. Dash CS.
You know, he does this purely for you.
I would hope so. I love that he does that for me, and I have no problem that he does that for me. And that makes me so excited because Colin, again, much like when I try to read my children Socks on Fox and Fox on Socks, I love a good tongue twister. So keep them coming, baby. I am here for it.
I need him to come on and do the entire show like that.
Oh,
The
man.
entire one like that. Yes.
I don't. Oh, that's a challenge.
Issued.
Yeah, that's a challenge. Or even just come on and read his feedback live. Like, not the whole episode, but just do it live. Like a performance.
You know what? That would be great, Colin. If you could just leave a voicemail, even.
Oh, that'll work too.
Like the other kids. That would be dope. Because I would love to see you read your. In fact, we talked about my history of voicemailing. My first ever bit of feedback I ever left with Podcastica was the Ted Lasso episode with all of the romantic comedies, and I wrote out all the different tropes that were signaled in the episode, and Ben had to read them all.
Yes, I did.
Kristen was not going to do that.
No.
So I challenge you to come on and use your own voice like I once did.
You know what? You reminding me about that was the first, I do remember that was the first episode you ever left feedback for. And then you continued to do it afterwards. And you should consider yourself so lucky that you were ever invited back on, because Kristen hated that episode because she hates rom-coms.
I don't know how. Rom-coms are my secret love language. They are.
She didn't hate. She strongly disliked that episode of Ted Lasso because of all the rom-com references.
For sure.
She could never hate an episode of that show.
No, but Colin, I love you. Nicely done. Nicely
Thank you.
done.
And yeah, thank you. Hey, he's still got one more week to do it for the finale feedback.
Darn tootin' he does.
Yeah.
Challenge thrown.
So the next email that we have, Becky, you can read. This is a follow-up from, if anybody listening remembers Zach's really dark and twisted prediction and awesome prediction for the killing of Daryl, and like Herschel kills Daryl and all. Like, this is a follow-up.
Oh, very cool. So from Zachary Singer, hi again, Ben and Alex. Just listened to your episode 7 podcast for Dead City. To my pleasant surprise, I heard you read my theory about Daryl and couldn't have been more happy and excited to hear what you had to say. I'm glad you both liked it, and I agree. It's a very bold and ballsy theory, which is something I think this show could use some more of, is bold and ballsy. We'll get there. Sorry. Back to Zachary. I think old Walking Dead would have totally pulled the trigger on this, but Walking Dead now, partially due to the kickback from Glenn's death, I think they're afraid to make a move like this. I do find it really odd that they never touched the comic book death of Rick in the final season of Walking Dead, even if it was with another character. That's a part of me just feels like that it's waiting in the wings to happen to someone. I'm excited to see what the finale holds for us. I do hope that my theory is correct and that they reveal at the end that Maggie is upset with Herschel because of what he did at the Commonwealth. My hope is that they wouldn't reveal that it was Daryl, just reveal that something really bad happened at the Commonwealth and it was at the hands of Herschel, and just leave it at that. Maybe next season we get like little flashbacks of Maggie and Herschel at Commonwealth. like the 30-second clips every other episode until the finale, when we realized that he just murdered someone, and it shows Maggie and him leaving. But again, not knowing who he murdered until the following season of Daryl Dixon season 4, when hopefully it ends and we would find this information out on the Daryl Dixon show. And then Dead City comes back on for its final season, and Herschel is like the brand new villain that everyone loves to hate. But enough about my theory. I highly doubt it's going to happen, and by this point, we definitely know. But I did want to talk about episode 7. I thought this was a really good episode. I enjoyed the character development out of Maggie and Negan. It's so much nicer to have those other characters killed off and just get back to the core, what made last season pretty good, which is that it was just a Maggie and Negan story. After this episode, though, my biggest question is, who's going to survive the finale and who's going to be the villain in season 3? Is it going to be the Dama, but with Herschel by her side? Is it going to be Brogel? Is it going to be Negan? And I guess we'll find out in the finale. Thanks again, guys. Take care. I want you to know, Zachary, that I wrote Brogel when I typed out my notes every time I mentioned it.
Outstanding.
I think that's his new name going forward after last week, because that was just that was just brilliant.
Forward, you mean this week? And what I got to give you a massive credit for is Ben challenged you with the timeline not quite syncing up for that reveal to happen, and you found a way to elongate that timeline just long enough to get through Daryl Dixon. So nicely done. Way to see the challenge and say challenge accepted. Well played.
But I now bring another fault to this. And it's actually not with the timeline. It is with the fact that by the time we get to the next season of Daryl Dixon or the next season of Dead City, if they start doing flashbacks, we're going to see like a 20-year-old Logan Kim murdering someone when he was meant to be like 14 years old. Like they would have to find another actor to play a younger version of Herschel again, because Logan Kim's going to be too old to play a flashback version of himself.
You know what, Ben? Aaron Paul was in the final season of Better Call Saul, and we all just kind of let it happen. So I think
that is very true.
And we all just let it happen. Like, we knew he was 40 years old, but we were like, Jesse's saying bitch. I'm good.
Look, I mean, if Lost could bring back Walt in other episodes, and he was a lot older at the time, and it wasn't flashbacks, but still.
And the only CGI now.
This is true. This is also very true. And then the only other thing I'll say, too, is when he says they find it really odd that they never touched the comic book death of Rick in the final season, I will say, this is the fault of AMC. I think they proved that they were too afraid to kill off Rick because they had an opportunity to do it. And when he made that massive sacrifice blowing up the bridge, I legit thought Rick was dead. And I remember actually being okay with that because it was a massive sacrifice to save the people that he loved. And I also felt that by having him survive that and then being taken away by the chopper and everything, I actually thought was a horrible mistake. I thought they should have left Rick dead. And I know I'm going to get hate for that. No, but story-wise, I think that would have been better than what they did.
I think bold storytelling is always a good choice when the opportunity arises. So if you get hate for that, then open-minded people, be open-minded.
But it furthers my point that I think AMC and the producers were just afraid to kill off Rick.
Oh yeah,
that's fair. I think that's an accurate statement.
Same thing with that
affecting them in this series as well.
Well, it's the same thing.
Rick,
it's the same thing with Daryl too. If they did it in the OG Walking Dead and had Herschel kill Daryl or anybody kill Daryl, the whole "if Daryl dies, we riot" thing. Daryl and Rick were two characters that AMC were afraid to kill off.
And I imagine at this point, so is Negan.
That's what
I would think for this franchise, Negan is important enough that they would be afraid to kill him off. Because I'll be honest with you, and we're going to get into this episode, there were times this episode where I thought to myself, if Negan's out, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I don't, we'll see. We'll talk about it because I have thoughts too.
Yes. We'll get there.
All right. We have two pieces of voicemails, two voicemails that we're going to play. And the first comes from our friend, Steve Brown. Before I play it, if you want to take your pee break, and then I'll play the voicemails when we get back.
BRB.
Okay. Ugh. Oh, I'm so sticky. I hate
See,
it.
my husband hates it, but I keep the thermostat super low. And we got a new air conditioner unit this spring, and I love it. And I sleep with a fan at the foot of my bed and a smaller fan blowing on my head every night.
I'm like, so when I'm out here, like I'm only sticky because I was outside all day and I haven't showered since then.
Yeah.
My apartment's actually nice and cool. My apartment's set at like 70 degrees. So it's like nice and cool in here, but I just haven't had the chance to shower from when I was out earlier. Like I'm definitely going to shower before I go to bed tonight. But when I go to bed, I have a window unit in my bedroom that is literally right above my bed.
Nice.
It's not above my head. Like my bed is this way and the air conditioner is in the window here. So it's like on my body. But that's like how I like that air conditioner is set to like 65 and it's nice and chilled because even in the dead of summer, I like sleeping with a blanket on top of me.
I like to be wrapped up.
Yep. So I need that air conditioner blowing on me when I'm sleeping because I need to be under a blanket.
I get it.
Yep.
He doesn't understand that. He's like, just take the covers off. I'm like, no. I don't know. It's a security comfort kind of thing.
I think that's what it is for me too. It's, man, sorry. This is, it's so funny. For the one outside, if you are. Oh, so I have, because I'm a massive Back to the Future fan, anytime anything Back to the Future, like merch wise comes up, like limited edition stuff or anything like that, I get like everybody sends it to me. And Hot Wheels next month for the 40th anniversary is releasing a Hot Wheel of Emmett L. Brown's truck with the DeLorean in the back. So the DeLorean actually comes out like in the first movie.
Ooh.
I already have an event in my calendar to remind me of the release date and everything so I can pre-order it. It's not until like it's not for like another month. But of course, I have all these people tagging me in it on Facebook. I'm like, I already know.
Trust me, I'm good.
Thank you. I love that you're thinking of me, but I got it.
But I'm good.
It's already in my calendar.
That makes sense.
Okay, so if we're good, I'm just going to go right into... Yeah, no problem. I'm just going to go right into Steve's voicemail.
Hello, Ben and Alex. This is Steve. I didn't know if I'd be able to get to it today, but here it is. Walking Dead, Dead City, Season 2, Episode 9. I'm not even going to try to say the title, and I probably, if somebody says it, I won't recognize it as a mic drop, maybe. And we begin this week with the search for Herschel. Looking for a Herschel, she found a Croat. This one's got JDM's wife is in it somewhere. Larry Burton Morgan, according to the cast, the guest starring list. Okay, yeah, he's having flashbacks to when his wife was suffering from her cancer. Now that he's seeing Jenny in this state that she's in. I guess you're right. She wasn't bitten, but she's cut pretty bad. Okay, so Negan's going to go to this hospital and try to find antibiotics for Jenny. Okay, I caught it. The Croat just said the title of the episode, mic drop. I'm not going to try to repeat it, though. That's great. Good job, Negan. Warn Benjamin about what's going to happen if Jenny wakes up. If she wakes up alive, of course. I don't understand. I thought he said the bottom floors of this thing were insurmountable. Oh, okay. There is traps that he doesn't know about because Maggie almost just got hit by a mace. That's right. So Herschel would have had to make it past all the maps, all of the traps to get there too. While back at Bellevue, Negan has made it inside the hospital, apparently to the third floor because that's room 304. Ooh, Kid Walker. Maggie dispatched that ninja walker rather easily, though. And what's wrong with Maggie now? Does she have a fear of heights and a fear of cubicles? Cubicle mazes? Okay, so Negan passed out, and the Kid Walker is on top of him but didn't bite him, and now Maggie passed out for some reason. Meanwhile, back at Bellevue, Negan finds a room full of more kid walkers. Was this a kid? I thought Bellevue was like a mental hospital. Is it a kid hospital too? Are they sleeping? I don't understand. This caption keeps calling them dormant walkers. I guess that's what happens when they run out of food, and so they don't die, but they don't. Yeah, didn't you guys talk about this last week? I don't think I've ever been in one of those bridges like that have glass at the bottom of them that are high up, and you can see. That would be, I don't know, it'd be disconcerting for sure. And were we aware that Maggie had a fear of heights? I don't understand. Is this out of the blue? And of course, she gets attacked by walkers. They didn't have to be ninjas because she wasn't paying attention. What's wrong with Maggie? Now, of course, the glass is cracking. And the Croat just saved your life with that ladder. Well, I've gone a little long, and there's still like 20 minutes left in this episode, but I've got something I've got to do. So I'm going to send you what I've got, and I'll finish watching it later. Bye.
Thank you, Steve. So
continued.
So Maggie's fear of heights was actually established in season 1 with the zip lines going over from building to building when they were chasing the old woman who took their bag.
Yes, the pigeon lady.
Yes. So when they had to cross the building in the zip line, that they established then that Maggie had a fear of heights. So this was not anything new. This was something they went back to.
No, but I don't think they ever established that in Walking Dead proper. Having said that, though, the only time I ever remember Maggie having any experience with anything of heights would have been like the prison season when she was in the guard tower. I don't remember her ever being high up after that. So like there'd be no chance for them to talk about her fear of heights other than Walking Dead, Dead City.
Yeah, there was no reason for them to give her a fear of heights because she never would have had to have faced it at any point in Walking Dead proper. The captions calling them dormant walkers is interesting.
Yes, I thought so as well. But what is a dormant walker in this world? Like what?
I think it's just a starved walker.
That's true.
Yeah,
we have seen the starved ones before.
But they usually just die off, don't they?
I don't think they can die.
I don't think they die either. I think they just get ridiculously weak until they're replenished at some point. I don't know.
So they just literally do just kind of lay there like me when I'm hungry.
I know that feeling, sister. I sure do.
And the only other point I'll make too is from what I understand, from what I know, I think Bellevue is just a normal hospital, but they do have a mental ward in Bellevue.
Okay.
And kids can be crazy too.
That's true.
Well, that's
kids
true.
can be crazy.
That's a fact.
But thank you, Steve, for that. And if you leave us feedback for the finale, which I'm sure you will, feel free to continue what you didn't get in this one at the end, because I'm sure we would have heard you shocked as shit to hear to see the Dom is still alive.
Amen to that.
So, one more piece of feedback, and this one comes from Renee. It's a little long, but we're going to play it in full. But I'm really excited to hear this because Renee's never left us feedback before. So here we go.
Hi, Ben and Alex. How are you guys doing?
Good.
This is Renee calling in. First off, Ben, I just realized I never said hi to you when I sent in my messages for the Last of Us podcast. So, hiya. Now, let me start by giving Jason his flowers because he really did his thing with Podcastica. Every podcaster in the network has a voice that draws you in. There's something in the lilt of y'all's voices that's honestly hypnotizing. The chemistry between everyone on the mic is top tier, and it keeps me coming back. Now, since Podcastica isn't currently covering any of the shows I'm watching, I needed something to vibe to while I'm at the gym. So I decided to give the Dead City podcast a listen because I like your voice then on the Last of Us podcast. Now, let me be clear. I've never been a fan of Negan, but I love Maggie. So I had watched the show already, but I haven't watched the new season. Still, y'all's commentary made me want to give it a second try, especially after Danielle, one of the amazing ladies I got the podcast with, doing a Patreon exclusive about our love for Rick Grimes. She encouraged me to, watch it. So along with listening to you guys, I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. which allows me to segue into the reason for my voicemail. I am in love with Rick Grimes. That is my man, my man, my man. Period. And that's one of the main reasons I never liked Negan, besides the fact that he was just an overall freaking jerk. Now, y'all mentioned that Rick could have possibly turned into someone like Negan. Now, I'm here to say never, ever, 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 ever. Rick Grimes would never. Let's not forget, Negan was out here sleeping with his wife, best friend, before the world fell apart, before the ZA. Not only that, when Lucille found out she had cancer, she tried calling him. And where was he? At a hotel with that so-called best friend getting his rocks off, ignoring his wife's call while she was breaking down with a life-changing diagnosis. Now, that's just wrong and grimy. Super duper grimy. And that woman, that skank, that so-called best friend, she was never Lucille's best friend. Rick Grimes, he would never. Now, fast forward to the ZA. Negan had a harem of wives. He was burning people's faces with hard irons, and he ruled by fear. Rick, at his darkest, never lost his heart. He was brutal when necessary, but never heartless. And don't get me started on how Negan treated Dwight. I couldn't stand Dwight at first, but I came to understand him. Negan took that man's wife and forced her into his harem. So yes, Dwight did some wrong, but he was trying to survive. Negan, on the other hand, did what he did because he could. Big difference. So I'm okay with Dwight getting a redemption arc. Negan even shamed Olivia about her weight and then had the audacity to suggest they sleep together. Just gross, just grimy. Again, Rick Grimes would never. Y'all get where I'm coming from. I could list off a dozen or more things Negan did, but here's the bottom line. Rick, Michonne, Daryl, Carol, they all did some heavy, evil, brutal things. I'm sorry. They all did some heavy, even brutal things, but they never lost their humanity. Never. When Rick and the group went to the sanctuary, he gave them an option. He said, this can end now. Y'all can join us. I never once heard Negan offer anyone that kind of choice. Never. And let's not forget, Negan was about to kill Carl. The same brutal way he killed Glenn and Abraham. Rick would have died before letting that happen to someone else's child, let alone his own. Yes, Rick and the group made mistakes, like that raid on the outpost based on Jesus intel. I fought Jesus. I always say I fought Jesus. Anyway, but they felt the weight of that decision. They questioned it, and they allowed their mercy to prevail over their wrath. Same with Maggie. If you ask me, she's still walking in mercy. Because if it had been me, Negan wouldn't still be breathing. He would be dead. He dead. Now, I'll admit something I never thought I'd say. I am starting to feel a little sympathy for Negan. My heart is thawing just a bit, like the Grinch. But let me be clear. I go back and forth because it's hard to forgive and forget what Negan did. Now, while I love me some Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I cannot ignore the ugliness of his character. And listen, let me say this. If Negan messes up tonight, I'm done. I'm through. It's a wrap. All righty. Peace and love. Bye.
Renee.
I feel like Renee just went to the bedroom, grabbed a belt, and beat the Rick Grimes truth into us.
You know, Ben, she tried. She tried. But
no.
I am just an unapologetic Negan fan. And while I appreciate what Renee said, I firmly believe that the past is told by those who win. Furthermore, the past is told by those who are the storytellers. The Walking Dead proper was Rick Grimes' story. We got Rick Grimes as the hero. I'm just saying there's another way to look at this where it's a bit more complicated than just so black and white as you might think. However, Renee, that was a delightful, delightful voicemail. And while I'm not going to mention that all you did was laud and thirst over Ben's voice and completely leave mine entirely out in the dust and as if I were nothing to you. That's fine. That's okay. I don't care. I am not holding that against you with my disagreement. That's all. That's all I just say. Thank you so much for the feedback, Renee. Love you.
You realize we're getting another voicemail from Renee next week now, right? Because
I wanted that. I was planting
Okay.
that seed, Ben. I was
All
planting
right.
that seed.
All right,
He's
fair
throwing
enough.
challenges out left and right.
Right?
There's only
Hey.
one more episode, man. I got nothing left to lose. It's up to
No,
Jason if he wants me back or not.
But I will say, Renee, like I appreciate your love for Rick Grimes. I really do. I'm not going to contradict it by saying anything else. I really appreciate it, and thank you for putting in the time and leaving us that voicemail. That was
Sure.
great.
Yes.
It was good to hear your voice.
All right. So with that being said, we're almost an hour in, and we're still just getting through the feedback.
I love it.
But you know what? To be honest, I don't know how long the conversation about the finale is going to take
I don't have a whole lot.
get through a lot of it.
Yeah.
It is what it is at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it's tying up some ends. It's setting up. It reminds me of House of the Dragon season 2, where we got to the end, and instead of it feeling like a finale, it felt like a setup for the actual conflict that's coming. I think that's what this season whole was.
And we did kind of predict that was probably going to be the case by the end of the season as well.
And I think that's actually the right move. But go ahead.
I agree. Let's get into the discussion. The Walking Dead, Dead City, Season 2, Episode 8, If History Were a Conflagration. Plot summary for this episode. In the brutal season finale, Negan stages a deadly showdown against Brogel and Armstrong, indoctrinating an eerily familiar Eeny, Meeny, Mighty Mo execution before emulating Brogel with methane and his bat. Maggie nearly kills Negan, but ultimately spares him after discovering Ginny has died and turned, which leaves her grappling with mercy over vengeance. As New Babylon forces descend on Manhattan, Maggie, Negan, and Armstrong unite with while Herschel sides with the Dama, setting up a cliffhanger that leaves alliances shattered and the future uncertain. Before we get into any major breakdowns, I'm curious where we stand purely just about this finale. Scale of 1 to 10. How do we rank this season finale, taking into account the loose ends that it ties up for the season?
I'm going to give it an 8, actually. 8 out of 10 in that it was not a great finale, but I have faith in what this finale is setting up. And I've been saying it all season long. I think season 2 is more of a setting up the table season than an actual interesting season. And this finale did exactly that. So I think for what it needed to do and what they have set up and what it provided us closure on, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Becky, we heard yours, but what was it?
5.
Okay.
And that's because I'm split right down the middle. There were some really cool things I liked about it, but there were some things that I really didn't like about it. More so, not as much about the story, but about like some of the fight scenes, and it felt like, oh, hurry up, we've got to end this. Let's cram all this in here. And then, oh, bam, we're done. But let's open with a great start. Let's end it with a good start. But in this whole middle, it just felt all over the place. So I felt very neutral about it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. So I say 5.
Okay. I'm kind of right. I'm kind of right in the middle. I'm a little closer to Alex at a 7. But I understand both. I gave it as high of a number as I did because I do like what it set up. And a lot of things that it did with some of the characters by the end of this episode. But Becky, I also see your point of view in that there are one or two things in this episode that felt really phoned in. Like they were just trying to be like, okay, we don't know what we were supposed to do with this. So let's just kind of like throw this out there and hope they forget about it by the time we get to the end of the episode. So I'm right around a 7, but I know where I want to start because this is my biggest gripe from this episode.
Awesome. Get it out of the way.
Talking about phoning things in. oh, that was just one of the deads that I put there and let burn.
Oh,
how?
Wave.
Like that was such a poor excuse for how she survived being burnt.
Yeah.
It didn't explain Millie not being there to witness it. It didn't explain where the hell the dead body came from in the first place. It didn't explain how she was able to char it in place without setting anything additional to blaze. Like, that was an extremely charred body that we saw that day. And such lazy, uninspired writing. Like, you're right. It was a hand wave, and it was, what are we doing?
Well, not only that, but when Millie is looking at her, she is on fire.
Yes, she is on fire, more so than just a little bit of a neck burn. So
yeah, she looked way too good.
It's lazy. It feels so lazy, and it feels cheap, and it feels like it diminishes us as an audience. And that is probably my number one gripe with how this season has ended, was the reintroduction of the Dama. And I don't even know why they played that card. That sloppy writing, sloppy, shoddy writing, for sure.
I don't think it was necessary to bring her back. Whole thing could have happened. Because the big end result was Herschel's conversation with Maggie, which was a great conversation.
Right.
The Dama didn't need to be there to instigate that. I don't know why they bothered with that. Because the shock value wasn't worth it. I don't even think the makeup and her hair or any of that was well done, and it just wasn't necessary. And I just felt like it was, like you said, they phoned it in, but also like, ooh, let's wow everyone and bring the Dama back, when you should have just left well enough alone and had a better episode.
Well, I understand